Ireland's economy will crash due to the galloping mortgage arrears crisis. This is forecast for several years, but nothing is being done to prevent it happening. For a few short years during the Celtic Tiger period, we were never so rich, or thought we were. Now we have never been so poor, but the poverty is real. Mountains of unpaid and unrepayable debt built up during the fantasy rich period now hang over our children and grandchildren like storm clouds ready to explode into terrible retribution. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland in 2012, Enda Kenny notoriously said that Irish people went on a mad borrowing spree during the Celtic Tiger, implying that the financial crash was their own fault. But having told the people in a national address 7 weeks previously that the economic collapse was not their fault, he had some serious backpedaling to do when he came home. Of course, backpedaling and U-turns are par for the course for this government. The reason I highlight this incident is that it crystallises the lack of understanding that's out there surrounding this crazy period in international finance, which led to the collapse of national economies around the world. During this period, Ireland undertook a massive construction campaign, building public, private and commercial projects at an astonishing pace. People needed homes, commerce needed factories, hotels, offices, motorways, etc. Farmers needed large farm buildings. But the financial reality, when it finally emerged, was that all this activity was fueled by fantasy money, thrown at families and developers in virtually unlimited amounts, by self-styled banking and mortgage experts. Due diligence as to the moral hazard aspect, which is entirely the responsibility of the banks, was thrown overboard in favour of massive profits, remuneration and bonuses paid to bankers. As to who is responsible for the current financial crisis, there is no question in my mind. It was the fault of lenders and financial regulators, pure and simple. They were the experts. They publicly advertised themselves as such when seeking clients. We also know now that the bottom line on all these advertisements, reassuring the public that financial institutions were regulated by the financial regulator, was in effect meaningless. Reckless lending took place everywhere and at every level. But none of these self-proclaimed financial experts are in jail. By and large, private borrowers honoured repayment terms until the economy collapsed and jobs were lost. That picture is now totally changed, with about 100,000 mortgages in desperate trouble. The number is growing on an hourly basis. Because about 10 billion euros is involved in the mortgage crisis, and the value of properties today bear no relationship to the size of the mortgages, this crisis has the potential to bring the Irish economy crashing down in the short and medium term. Returning to debt forgiveness, the term itself is self-explanatory, but the idea has been declared a non-runner as far as banks and the government are concerned. On the other hand, developers owing hundreds of millions in Ireland can go across the water to be declared bankrupt and return in double quick time with clean slates. Not so easy for people with negative equity mortgages on family homes. So, where to from here? Common sense indicates there is no alternative to debt forgiveness. Many senior financial academics agree and have published letters to that effect. It may be seen as a worst-case scenario solution, but an even more terrible prospect would be the collapse of the entire economy due to the mortgage crisis. A fair analogy, perhaps, would be a surgeon's decision to amputate a diseased limb in order to save a life. What is preventing debt forgiveness happening is our gutless TD's refusal to legislate on behalf of long-suffering mortgage victims. They are prepared to see hundreds of thousands of hapless citizens who were struck between a rock and a hard place, pilloried into total poverty, rather than face the wrath of the banks, who are the real culprits. They are also prepared to stand idly by while the entire Connolly comes crashing down around us. If ever there was a time in history when ordinary Irish people needed to stand up to the political establishment, the time is now. I'm appealing directly to people whose mortgage difficulties are destroying their lives. The solution is in your hands. Talk to others in the same boat. Gather up your courage and persuade dozens of independent mortgage arrears candidates to go forward for all upcoming elections. Use Facebook, Twitter, and all social media vehicles to get candidates elected. All mortgage victims have families, friends, and relations who have votes. Call in their help. They will support the idea of achieving debt forgiveness. The 100,000 families in serious mortgage trouble today can turn into 500,000 votes around the country. Social media campaigns are getting people elected the world over. In Europe, it has been successfully done in Israel and Italy, and can certainly be repeated in Ireland. All it needs is a spark of leadership and inspiration, and you're on the road. Once mortgage arrears candidates are elected to councils around the country, and perhaps 20 or 30 TDs in the next Dáil, then real democracy will begin to happen in Ireland. Remember, at the moment, you have absolutely no representatives in the Dáil or government to fight your case. I make a personal promise. I do not have a mortgage problem, and I will not be a candidate, but I am prepared to travel to meeting any interested group if I am invited to do so.